Hey guys, this is Paul from MageCloud agency, and I'm going to talk to you about the conversion rate optimization, especially for the Magento 1 and Magento 2 stores. As you know, Magento is an industry leader in e-commerce, and more customers, especially when it's a big ERP related stores, they switch to Magento for the better performance, for the better conversions. At the same time, being as an agency for quite a bit of time, we can see a lot of stuff that needs to be improved on top of Magento, pretty much any store, to generate better conversions. As you know, conversion rate optimization is something that's really in between a great traffic that will be driven to the store and best performance of your website, with best structure, best checkout process. So I'm really happy to have this video recorded with the support and partnership from Bolt.com, an amazing checkout system that simplified the checkout for pretty much any store. I will be quickly introducing who we are in general, and I really want to make it a little bit more non-formal, a little bit more interactive. So, as a MageCloud, we are really famous for the top-rated support for online stores. We support WordPress, Magento, Shopify, and like top major e-commerce, I would say, systems. With the great feedbacks, 100% job success. With the offices in Denmark and UK. So now coming back to the topic, right? So I really want to tell you that the number one stuff that you have to look as a store owner or marketing manager, it's your Google Analytics and Google Search Console. From my end, eventually, when I'm doing analysis of their specific website or specific competitor, I'm actually using SEMrush. So basically, by putting the URL of the site, I can easily guess the amount of the paid traffic or amount of the organic traffic. In your case, when you're the business owner, you probably have an access to your Google Analytics and Google Search Console. And so pretty much today I'm gonna try to provide you some more insight how I'm doing like technical check and stuff like that. So once again, to get more sales, you need to data conversion rate. You have to drive the most relevant traffic to your website. From what I know, there is two ways of driving traffic to a website. One is like organic traffic that's from Google, Bing, etc., plus kind of paid traffic that's coming from whenever Google ads, from Facebook ads, and like social, etc., etc. If you will be looking into any website specifically, then you can definitely check, using similar web. You can see how your competitors doing, what's the estimate of the traffic they're having. You can analyze approximately bounce rate, etc., etc. So some data might be really useful from here, and they also give you a little bit more insight. How much traffic coming from search, like ads, etc., and organic, how much the direct traffic, social campaign, email. So those type of numbers you can check for any industry. They are more or less the same. Eventually that's my very helpful information. With SEMrush, you can dive a little bit more deeply and see how your competitors ranking against the specific keywords, if they run any specific campaign based on the certain keyword, etc., etc. Now let's focus on specifically analyzing your site, right? So the number one stuff which I'm checking when I'm going to the customer website, I have a couple of really useful extension. One of the extension on my browser is Google Tag Assistance. So basically, and the Facebook Pixel Assistant. So right out of the box, what I can see on the sites when I'm checking here is how many different like tags and trackings appear here. And in many cases, I can find out like it's so much like a lot of differences. So for instance, like as you can see, we have one G tag, second G tag, different remarketing tags, which is eventually like for some reason duplicating each other. So another Google Analytics, once more Google Analytics. So basically, I can tell you when you're switching between different agencies, it might happen that they will ask you to install certain trackings and pixels, but at the same time, end of the day, you're losing the control. So make sure that there is no duplicate. So if it's only one Google Analytics here, it should be just one. I mean, so you have to figure out which one you're actually using and make sure that you don't really, overload your page with the third-party components, because like every third-party components is like extra stuff. Same here with the Facebook pixel. Again, it's very easy, like 10 seconds check. But as you can see here, Facebook pixel is different here. So eventually, probably that was the old Facebook pixel that they're not using anymore. But then here is the new one. So eventually, if it's installed through the Google Tag Manager, it can be easily removed. Otherwise, it's probably in your Magento system or admin panel, so you can remove it there. Okay. This is about that. The next one that I want to highlight a little bit is which a lot of companies missing. They're not really tracking the redirects. So basically, as you know, those days, most of the Google, like I think since 2015, Google requires all of the e-commerce website to be in HTTPS by default. And as a result, what happened is like people always setting the HTTPS URL as the main. So there is a certain problem with that because not everyone is even trying to check that. So what I'm using here is I'm using the tool called redirectcheck.com, and I'm sending kind of requests to the website without HTTPS. There's a bunch of the redirect checks, so you can go ahead and check with the one you want. But here, like one of the sample, as you can see, when we're doing this check without HTTPS, I'm seeing that the first redirect is using 302. Then there is a second redirect 301, and after that, it's just going into the real page. There are two troubles here. Like the first trouble is like redirect is 302, which means for Google it's kind of temporary redirect. The second trouble is this is like a double redirect. So eventually, when you're doing this, you have to make sure that you check all of the possible scenarios of the redirects, right? And you have to make sure that all of them will be with only one single redirect. It will be redirecting properly for appropriate page without any kind of session ID variables. So it will be clean redirect, right? So, and keep in mind, if you decided that you want to submit your Google website with HTTPS www, make sure that you also verify how the system will work when you request just HTTPS without www. So basically, all of the possible scenarios needs to be checked here. Because I have in many cases I have situation when, and by the way, you have to check not just the home page, you have to check the internal page also, because I had an issue with the different websites when I'm requesting like certain page within the site, like category page or product page, the redirect was not working correctly and just sending me to the main page. Why is this important? Because you might have a lot of backlinks from other sources. People might just like to link to your website without specifying HTTPS. So you have to make sure that whenever way the customer will land on the website, they will be eventually reaching out to the right destination, right? Okay, so the next stuff that I want to highlight, like specifically, is HTTPS. It's a must-have, So with the HTTPS, it's the industry standard those days. You don't really have to keep your website on the HTTP. Like, don't get me wrong, guys, but those days there is a really nice tool called, which I'm recommending to all of my clients, called Cloudflare.com. Which is eventually they have a free plan over here, right? So you don't have to pay anything. You just sign up with a free plan. which gives you eventually HTTPS protection for free. It gives you some extra protections against the hackers, the firewall rules, and stuff like that. But what's more important, and I will be talking a bit more about this, with the Cloudflare, you will be able to eventually increase the speed of the page loads, right? So we will be going through all of that. But this is just a quick stuff. Stay here, and we'll just talk a bit more. So you see, like 25% faster with the Cloudflare versus if you will be doing this alone, right? So I mentioned that because like this particular scenario we see is like non-secure. So basically for them it's very easy. It takes like 2 minutes just to register with the Cloudflare, point the DNS, and have it protected, right? So the next stuff that I want to highlight here, and this is the number one things that I'm checking, is robots.txt file. So with robots.txt file, it's a special file that you tell Google, hey Google, this is the pages that you want to index, this is pages that you don't want to index. In that case, robots.txt file on that sample is just like pretty much allow everything, which is not correct at all for Magento. And eventually kind of we'll see why. So another stuff that I'm checking here is, and you can eventually and by the way, don't get me wrong, robots.txt it's always in the same scenario. So if you have your site, just add robots.txt and check if you have this file. Sometimes this file might be exist, but you have to watch what's inside. The number one stuff is don't block any JavaScript, don't block any images, and don't block any CSS. All of the other directives, like it's something that your developer have to check, right? If you're unsure if it's good or not on your end, just reach me out and I will definitely, like in 10 seconds, we'll take a look and give you some advice. One of the reasons why I want to highlight this robots.txt file is because of these directives. You see, disallow everything. So basically what happened in this case, developers pointing like any dynamic variables that you have on your website, Google don't crawl it, don't index that. So eventually what happened is, if your website has, for example, pages like page 1, page 2, page 3, then eventually by using these directives, eventually those pages would not be indexed by Google, which is, it's still probably your products will be in Google Index because you might have them in the sitemap, but it's really bad. Overall, I'm not recommending doing that. I would highly, and by the way, one of the main thing that I want to highlight here, robots.txt is instructions for the Google, but it still might be possible, even you're protecting those pages in robots.txt file, Google still can spider at, can still get the index. So those days when we are doing the projects, I'm highly recommending to all of my clients, make sure that you are not just using this as robots.txt file, but eventually when you go ahead and you protect certain areas. So as takeaway about robots.txt, number one, make sure that it exists. Number two, make sure it's not protecting JavaScript images and CSS, and make sure that you're not blocking all of the pages, like paging, etc., etc. Another stuff that you want to really check is sitemap. Sitemap XML especially, that's a special file that will be generated by Magento system. In order to help Google to easily index your content, right? So eventually what happened with the sitemap, if it's not like, it might be not just the sitemap XML, you can name it a different way. So it could be in the subfolder, right? But technically, usually the sitemap, this is something that will be specified in robots.txt file. So if you're working with your developers, you can go to the robots.txt file and see if they specify the sitemap here, and then from here you can try to open and see if the sitemap exists. One of the main takeaway about the sitemap, if it's missing, then obviously you're in trouble. If it's not missing, then please watch out on your server, or maybe ask your developer if your sitemap generating daily. Every single day I'm checking different websites and I'm seeing the sitemap is not being generated daily, which is then causing the issues with the Google indexing. Basically, Google will start seeing like out of date information. Google starts seeing that like previous pages that was in the sitemap, they no longer available, etc., which is hurting you overall overall, right? It might happen. It might happen that the sitemap, if you have such a big amount of the products, right? It might happen that the sitemap, one sitemap, will be just too big, right? There are certain limitations of Google. I don't remember if it's a 50 megabytes or something like that, or if it's, I think, up to 50,000 URLs as well. So make sure that you plan this correctly, right? So let me close this one. Make sure that you plan that correctly, right? And as a sample, I just really want to show you something as a sitemap, right? So eventually, if your website contain like more than, I would say, 10,000 products, right? Then the good idea would be to split the sitemap into different subsites, right? So like one website like sitemap index, which contain like a couple of other, sitemaps, and you can check this in your Google Search Console here on the sitemap. You can see how it's all going for you. One of the main takeaway here is like number one, check that your sitemap exists. Number two, make sure that's updated daily. And one more stuff that I want to highlight is make sure that all of the pages on your sitemap will be in Google Index. How to check that? So if you go here to submitted sitemaps, right, which you definitely supposed to do, when you click here, right, you can see, all right, so 171 page has an issue, right, like, which is probably lead to the server issue or something like that. Another stuff, for example, it's saying here like 10,000 valid, right, and then as you can see here, it's saying that about 6,000 URLs excluded. So as like, for instance, for that particular domain, what happened is, out of the 17,000 URLs that you want Google to index, which could be category pages or product pages, almost 6,000 is not an index. So I can tell you guys, if you're running the inventory with more than 5,000 products, you might be in the trouble with all of that. So please watch out your Google Search Console, see how many URLs exactly in Google Index, and stop wasting money with search engine optimization, guys, with backlinks, unless this issue is solved. So hopefully that makes sense for you guys. Now, coming back to the original point about the robots.txt file, we will be talking a little bit about how it's all affect you, right? Why is this critical? So when I'm doing some tests, I'm going to Google and I'm going to Google and I'm trying to see, right? So how Google see our website. It's pretty easy if you go site, if you type site, performancepc.com. I mean, that's why I'm kind of watching this session. I really want to make sure that this is no slides. I want to make sure that you have to take this video, you can pause it, and you can test it against your personal site, right? So, for instance, this page shows me that about 16,000 URLs plus, in Google Index, right? And then I'm trying to see, what's going on. Is there any duplicating content? Don't get me wrong. I know this from my personal expertise, right? Definitely you will have to watch yourself about your personal website, but some of the stuff that you definitely have to watch, right? So and keep this in mind. If you type in URL limit, right, here you see 57 results, and as you can see, no information is available for this page. What does it mean? It means like basically inside of the robots.txt file there is a directives that pretty much telling Google don't index, but still Google kind of going here to this URL and it's still kind of spandering this content. So as you can see here, there are a bunch of the stuff was duplicating content, right? So eventually you have to like this is definitely a trouble, right? So you don't really want this the garbage to be in Google Index, right? The next one that you eventually have to try is the mode. There is a bunch of the that's the default Magento troubles, and as you can see here, again, so this particular website contains those issues, latest brand, etc., etc. Why this is critical? It's just because this all will be like a duplicating content. This is eventually should not be at all in Google Index. Another stuff catalog search. As you can see, I'm trying right now to search for the catalog search, and I can see that even catalog search results get in Google Index. So this is for sure. The next one that you have to check is session ID. As you can see, for example, here there is a bunch of their pages. Like a normal pages, which was indexed though was the session ID as a variable at the end of the day, right? So this is and still there is even more. So some scenarios for the customer account section. I'm getting this. All right, customer account section, especially this one, referral, right? That's even kind of worse because on that specific client, I can see that entire it just even WW1 and test one was in Google Index. So probably it's a good idea to check your staging environment and see if your staging environment is in Google Index or not. Technically, like my number one recommendation, like this one, WW1. So this is already like a duplicating content for all like entirely mirror of the site. So, again, so it's hard for me to track all of the issues in the one end. But I will definitely recommend you, hey guys, this is something that you have to check. So another stuff that I wanna check is that could be product could be with a view ID, right? Like here, right? So basically in Magento, the product might be available using different URLs, like including the category URLs, including like a direct product URLs, all might be available using this, and which is still eventually kind of leading to the same page, and it's causing the duplicating content. So this is definitely kind of the trouble. You definitely have to watch this out. So for instance, this is one of the websites, and like they pretty much kind of doing okay from what I know, but as you can see here, some of the URLs on the product basis, catalog product view ID. You see, this is the URL. It's non-URL friendly. That's number one. Number two, if this URL goes to the Google Ads, means it's less clickable. And end of the day, it's duplicated content, and eventually that means that something is not right in your system. Maybe your URL index is not working, or stuff like that. So this is something that I want to share about duplicating content. Oh, by the way, one more stuff that I forgot here is could be another stuff called the review. That's another potential issue because I know Magento by default is not protecting this one, that type of pages, and there still might be another one. Which is related to different extension. Some of them could be like Ajax, could be Quick View. Again, depends on your website, depends on your specific industry. I would be able to definitely take a look. So if you're unsure, just send over the website URL, and I will be able to quickly run a quick audit with you guys. Another stuff, it's about the filters. Like typically what happens is a lot of those filters we don't really provide any sort of unique content, unique meta descriptions. So in many cases, those filters should not really be in Google Index also. So please watch out for that. Okay. Now let's make sure how, like, I really wanna highlight with you how to fix that. So number one, all of the websites, all of the pages, they're supposed to have a correct canonical tag. So eventually, right on your website, if it's homepage or if it's any static page, then it should contain canonical tag. For whatever reason, again, like you see, like canonical, canonical tag is missing, right? So, and this is kind of issue on many Magento sites, like the homepage canonical tag is not specified, which means like sometimes you are driving traffic to a homepage with gclick ID, Google still can get this URL and have the total duplicate for your site. On that page, for instance, canonical tag, as you can see here, it's already specified, so this is correct. So you want to make sure that your product detail page is also contain canonical tag to contain a canonical tag with the to the product page itself, right? So that's must have. Another stuff that I want to highlight is when I'm going to like specific pages, right? I'm going to the pages, view page source, then those type of pages, they're supposed to have no index follow directives. Right now you see it's index follow. I would highly recommend to have it no index follow. Basically what we're telling Google, all right, so this is the page number 2 of this content. The h1 tag and meta description is quite the same. The only difference is the product. Technically from my recommendation, we still want Google to go through those pages, but we don't really want Google to have P1, P3. Normally Google's smart enough, and don't index those and always put the first page, as a correct one. But trust me, I find out like a different websites when those page 1, page 2, page 3 were in Google index. So I highly recommend this to do, any other stuff like catalog search, right? Like for example, when you're typing something here on the catalog and it's produced you kind of results, then those type of pages, they definitely have to have no index, no follow. Any customer related pages supposed to have no index, no follow. And that will eventually protect you guys from having a lot of duplicating content on your website. All right. So hopefully in general this is very clear right now, and hopefully that oh, by the way, aside from no index, no follow for the certain pages, you can it's better to optimize the Google crawler time. So eventually, if you will see any sort of links like grid, view, etc., when you go to inspect, make sure that those type of pages will have rel no follow, just to save your crawler's budget. And also there's a bunch of their like here, right? Like this URL, for instance, the filter price, right? So let's see what's going on with this price. And let me check right now, like that particular website. URL price. This is how I'm gonna do. You see, that's what happens. Basically the price of price, category view, all of the stuff right here, price rally. You see, that's so garbage, right? So basically you have to watch very carefully against all of your filters, and make sure. I mean, this is another stuff, but anyways, you have to watch so carefully about your website. I really engage you guys. Like, don't waste your time. Just spend. Don't waste your time. Just spend whenever 10 minutes. Walk through the video and test your site. I can believe like this kind of that's might be big brands that's eventually doing that. And even in this is one of the stuff. You see the canonical tag specified correctly, but still it's being indexed by Google as a separate URL. I know it should not really happen this way, but it is what it is. We want to make sure that we clean this up, ourselves, right? So this is about having like indexing on non-indexing things. Now, I wanna talk a little bit about some basics, right? So I have a very basic extension here, Meta Inspector. That's just kind of telling me, all right, so canonical, warning, no define it, and h1 tag, some issues here here and there, right? So eventually, what I really want to go with is I really want to engage you guys. Go ahead and install this sort of extension. Then you'll be able to test by yourself. What's going on with particularly your website. Uh, but in general, you will have to make sure that you have H1 tag, you have method description, you have H1 tag on the page. There might be some issues when in Magento H1 tag is associated with the logo. Sometimes it's not there. Then you will have to probably create a separate block, just for the SEO purposes and put this somewhere in the bottom, right? So every single category that you have on your website is supposed to be really, really optimized for this sort of keywords. Again, it's pretty easy, make sure it's like cleaning, like it's probably we have to have like a little bit better description, like cleaning suppliers or stuff like that. Uh, so it will be more about, what we sell. It should be some content on every single page, etc., etc. Anyways, let me go ahead and give you one more stuff. Another thing that you have to definitely check is your it's the product snippet. What's the product snippet? The product snippet, it's a special it's a special things for Google that eventually tells Google about your product information. Usually this product snippet eventually will be needed for Google Ads, right? Because Google will read this markup overall, and let me find out. Okay, so this is probably for the logged in. But anyways, you will go to the Google product snippet test in Google. Structured data tasting tool, right? So basically, when you go to your website, you can eventually test any given page, but I definitely recommend you to test your homepage, test one of the category page, and test the product page. Once you will be testing your product page, you have to make sure that there is no errors at all. Like for instance, over here, as you can see, like the product snippet is totally dead, which means that eventually in your Google Search Console, you will have so many different troubles. So I can show you here. So eventually what happens, like we have tons of issues with the product snippet, and then once we fix that, then Google already start going down, etc., etc. So eventually there still might be warnings. I mean, don't get me wrong, there still might be warnings because of you don't really specify like specific, if let's say if the product doesn't have any reviews or product doesn't have description or doesn't have any SKU, but like eventually it's better for sure to specify all of the information for the product snippet. But again, like I understand that some of you guys don't really have any review section on the site, so warnings will be still okay, but definitely the product snippet is a must-have on any website those days. And by the way, let me speak a little bit more about the snippet. Okay, so why snippet is very critical, because eventually with Google snippet you can control how your particular results in Google would be, right? And let me go ahead and come back to this project, right? And or even this one, performance coming back to this one, performance piece. So I have to tell you very good things about two brands, like this one, like 4.9 out of the 5 Trustpilot reviews. This one, if I remember correctly, even more impressive, was like 900 positive reviews, something like that. But eventually, when you eventually gather these reviews, it means automatically that you want to promote those, right? And if it's just on your product page somewhere, like you see 90, 70 reviews, it's definitely supposed to be there, right? So it's better for conversions, it's better for overall like user experience, they trust you more, etc., etc. But we have to make sure that we also push this further into the Google, because we want to make sure that the customers, before they even land on our page, they see how good we are, right? So there's a certain techniques to do that, and I just want to highlight, and that's why I want to talk about the snippet. Oh, by the way, guys, if you're not using Trustpilot or any sort of other bunch of the stuff that controls reviews, Google, from what I remember, it has more than probably like 50 different systems that Google pre-approved to collect reviews for the sites. There's might be merchant reviews, could be product reviews, etc. But The reviews that I'm talking about, it's not the product reviews right now. It's more like the general website reviews. With a special snippet that you can implement, what you can do is you can have something like that. So let me show you what we've got with the headlines deep one here. This is the snippet, like 6,000 results, positive results, and we also collect the pricing information. It's up to Google if Google want to show the price or not. Like, it's, again, so there's no 100% guarantee that it will show like that, but it's a really, really cool thing. And what I have to tell you is that type of snippet, once we implement it, and don't get me wrong, this is a very hard job, implementing all of that. Even sometimes it needs to be done manually, in certain cases. But anyways, once you have this, and then your snippet, comes to the first page in Google, the click-through rates on the organic snippet might be twice more. And then Google will see that among the result of your competitors, people clicking on your snippet. That's why having a nice snippet in Google results, it's a must-have, and especially if you're already collecting the data, right? So this is really important. This is the highlight that I want to really, really share with you. Okay. So, and like I said, Trustpilot, Yotpo, FIFO, Shopper Approved, all of the type of stuff, this is something that, you have to explore and use. The next things that I want to highlight is about invisible capture. There's a bunch of the bots coming to your website those days, so you want to make sure that you also install invisible capture. Another stuff that I want to highlight is about the speed, which is eventually like a lot of subscriber pop-ups coming in. So what happened is those type of pop-ups, they slow down the page, and I want to make sure that we don't really have issue with the speed. All right. So that's kind of overview that I'm going right now. It helps you to analyze your website, fix for the better organic traffic, right? And then I think overall those changes, they will help you long term. Now let's speak a little bit about the speed. Right, so speed is very critical, and I want to make sure that we also cover that topic. So we have a sort of two things when it comes to the speed. One, it's time to first byte, and the second one is the time for loading of the content. There are certain problems with the Magento 2 when if you open up the console from more tools, developer tools, right over here. This is the console that, oops, let me open up once again, models, developer tools. Yeah, so if you switch to network and you hit like refresh, you will see like a lot of things here going on. So what happens, what happened? The number one stuff is time to first byte. Right, like time to first byte, it's a must-have. It's something that you have to check, right? So I will show you right now a couple of probably samples, and we can compare it with you, right? So let's do that one. Refreshing. Let's get this, stuff loaded. We'll take it from there. So in general, to speed up the website, or a couple of techniques, like easy stuff that you have to do. Like number one, it's definitely it should be the right server structure. There's supposed to be the varnish cache in place and stuff like that, right? So let me tell you, number one that you have to check is if it's your Magento in a production mode. Because I've seen every single day, I'm seeing different clients that are trying to speed up the website, but they don't release that Magento either in the default or develop mode. Basically, so this is must have. I know that you would not be able to check it from the front end, but eventually, if you will see that time to first byte is very heavy, then it's probably not in the production mode. So make sure that you eventually track that. The second stuff that I want to highlight you in Magento, there is an option to activate flat category and flat product settings. That's must have, supposed to be. The next one is if you're not using CDN, then the Cloudflare that we discussed, it's a must-have, because let me show you here. So that you envision like type the first byte on those two pages seems to be okay, right? But if over here, as you can see, there's like a bundle. So basically what happened is they activated the Magento bundle default system, and what happens with the bundle system with Magento is all of the JavaScript that Magento have, it will be connected on one single page. So as you can see here, there's like maybe 7 megabytes of their JavaScript which will be loaded on every single page, and the total page is, as you can see, 15.5 megabytes. So this is so terrible. And eventually, by the way, what you have to check is those type of issues like full for page, this image missing, but you see how much time it's spent. So eventually, with the Magento, it's very critical to clean up. Even this video, you see MP4, so think you see if you really need this video, like 45 seconds to load, right? So make sure there is no issues like that. I mean, it's technically very easy to fix, but eventually, something that were missed for this client. Another stuff that I want to highlight, you see here, when I'm clicking to the header, which it means that all of those resources, they come into the Nginx, right? So eventually, basically, all of those requests, like it's coming to the server, and they overloading the server. So probably using CDN and stuff like that. This is the must-have for any Magento 2 store. And Cloudflare, in that case, probably will be the number one solution, because this will be eventually free. You have to watch also about the different third-party components. I know, like sometimes marketing agencies, they install third-party, systems, etc., and eventually, what happens is they, they then cancel the account, and the account is no longer available. So watch out for any third-party codes that you can use. There's cool things called GTmetrix, gtmetrix.com, that might be able to help you. And definitely, you can select the location where you are, and definitely, Google Speed Test gives you a lot of recommendations. But like I said, as a takeaway, number one, if it's a production mode, that's the number one to check. Make sure that the flat category and flat product settings are turned on. Make sure that you have a smart bundling system in place. Don't use Magento default bundling, right? Use Cloudflare. Make sure that your server configured to use HTTP2 protocol, because sometimes I'm seeing here HTTP1, so make sure it's always HTTP2. And end of the day, split the front end and database for the better performance. All right, so this is this is very critical. Now, let me tell you. The common problem of the Magento itself, it's does not matter which page you are, it still will be loading quite a lot of requests. So, and then, for instance, let me go ahead and add something to the cart on that website. And trust me, I'm seeing those type of things every single day, right? So I want to make sure that we get this. Let me see the option, add to cart. Checkout cart, right? So now imagine like the customer already here, right? And the customer is eventually clicking like go to checkout, right? Now this is eventually the checkout page in Magento 2, right? So as you can see, the overall is 7.4 megabytes, right? Uh, it's just so heavy, right? So, and envision that overall it took 16 seconds, right, to load. So eventually what happens here is with the bulk checkout, the experience is totally different, right? So let me show you like the exact stuff that happens. This is how we protect using the Cloud Player if it's someone from non-US coming to the site, just to avoid any sort of bots. So I will be showing you a little bit like different things. So number one, which I really love about the Bolt, they have a continue to payment here, right? Which is can be right away on your detail page, right? So continue to payment and everything is like going on. So I mean, like it's just because it's automatically detect my location, right? So it's really really cool. If you go to the add to cart stuff, right, then checkout process when you click here, checkout process start immediately. You don't even have to go through all of those kind of Magento things, right? This is really really nice. So eventually, with our clients, we have up to 50% conversion, increase by using the bulk checkout. So coming back then to the things, what's the common improvements can be made for the checkout? Thanks for the bulk for the sharing this information. So number one, 70% in general, it's abandoned on the checkout process, which is can be easily checked through your Google Analytics, right? The next one, you have to be quite sure that you check all of the different things. The user experience, right? So number one, you don't have to force user to create an account. You have to make sure that you provide a good guest checkout experience, right? You have to make sure that the customer can create an account after they place an order. You want to make sure that you can automatically detect the address, using the Google, for example, autocomplete API. You have to make sure that you clearly communicate the product information, the shipping information, how you handle the returns and stuff like that. So this is the warranty and all of that, right? So this is absolutely must have to be on your checkout, on the cart process, generally on the website. So coming back, to the question about having the login versus non-login, so definitely, guys, if you're asking user to sign up, please, you don't have to expect like a huge conversions. I understand if it's needed from the business perspective, if you're kind of B2B or stuff like that, but for the general B2C market, well, I think that will be a bottleneck. By the way, if you're still asking to log in your website, then probably you can utilize the social, Google or Facebook, etc., accounts, so they can click and log in immediately to the site, right? So this is this is really critical. Even like on the sign up page, make sure that you only keep a very kind of the minimum information, right? Like ask for the maybe like email and first name, and that's it. I know in terms of Magento, that's probably not as simple as I'm saying that, but again, like was the bullet itself, it's a totally different things, right? So was when there was like back in 2018, there was some kind of discussion about why people abandoned this like extra cost. So please make sure that you eventually try to allocate like a free shipping at least for a certain amount, and like long complicated checkout process definitely 26%, and site wanted to create an account. So that's what we kind of discuss with you. Kind of take away from about the free shipping from the Bolt. It's always good to have free shipping. If it's not possible to have it, maybe offer from the certain amount, right? If you can guarantee deliver on a certain timeline, please do that because people really love them. And definitely, if the shipping option is a free shipping is available, make sure it's a default one. Google autocomplete, to use Google autocomplete API, you definitely have to sign up for Google, get the API credentials, and then put it on your Magento system. That's already solved using Bolt, so you don't have to worry about that if you're using the Bolt. But if you still keep using Magento checkout, then make sure that you have that in place. So eventually, kind of being transparent with the shoppers, provide as much information about the warranty and return policy and stuff like that. I would probably add here is just to also share the previous expertise, previous experience, right? So like make sure that the widget from the customers will be in your checkout. So that's what gives a little bit more trust to to your brand, right? Again, so all of those stuff we already kind of discussed, and minify JavaScript, CSS, use smart bundling, compress images, use CDN, etc., etc. Once again, with Bolt, it's already up to date, and you don't really have to worry about that. Bolt solving all of that is a one-time goal, right? So eventually, like you can see like a Magento like kind of standard checkout versus like optimized Bolt checkout, right? It's a huge difference. So let me even go here. Like when I go to the checkout right now, right? So again, I'm probably like not available, but I mean like this is eventually such a nice tool when it's pretty easy. It's mobile friendly also. So it's kind of nothing to worry about. Like I really love it. So if you will be interested to explore Bolt, I will be happy, just to send me the information. I will connect you with our Bolt account manager. And so hopefully this entire video will be really helpful for you to analyze, what's going on with your traffic, what's going on with your store, what's the weaknesses, and how you can optimize. So I know there was a lot of information, so I want to thank you guys for your time, first of all. And again, if you will have any questions, just send me an email. I know I did not really specify here, so then let me do this way. While I'm doing this video, I will just go ahead to here, and I'll just Google my Paul Razanov, my LinkedIn profile. That's my Upwork profile. My email is paul@magecloud.net. This is my MageCloud email address. So if you will have any questions, just reach out to me, and hopefully I would be helpful for you and share. I will be able to also give you like some video review of your existing website. So hopefully that was, guys, very useful. And eventually, like I said, thank you for your time, and have a good day and happy selling. Right? Thank you. Bye bye.